program from incoming international undergraduate and graduate students for them to foster a sense of community among us. For this program, faculty and I have managed to talk about around 10 years ago. Next is chartering a student veterans of America here. This is just to make sure that the student veterans at our campus have a place where they can connect and network with each other. Is dining. I'm sure all of us have heard about the new dining contract with Chartwell. So throughout this process, I've been in contact with administration and just advocating not only for more diverse student food options, but also extended dining hall hours and such, just making sure that student voices are heard within this negotiation process. And the fourth thing that I really wanted to do this year when I was elected is continue the communication between student organizations as well as administration. So my committee and I this year have been able to meet with 30 organizations across campus. And next year my goal is to roll this up to 50 organizations. These meetings are great for me to hear feedback on our initiatives and just to make sure that the initiatives I'm communicating on is accurately reflective of the student activity. So moving on to next year, not only do I want to continue that communication, but also want to focus on two things. One is the mentorship program that my committee and I are currently working on, which is a mentorship program for undergraduate students, aiming for students first and sophomores, and for them to more easily be integrated into the Binghamton community when they first come in, especially coming to college as a university senior. And in this program, these freshmen and sophomores will be able to be matched up with upperclassmen, in which it is not only a great way for these upperclassmen to be able to make those peer connections, but also it's a great way for upperclassmen to do things like recruit for their boards, especially for those organizations that are smaller and upcoming. Oh, sorry.
No, it wasn't loud.
Okay, so we will now be going into the question period. Candidates who like to issue a rebuttal statement must raise their hands until they are yielded by mine. 2 rebuttals are allowed, and a maximum of 1 minute each are allowed for each candidate. Rebuttals to other rebuttals count within this limitation. During this period, applauses, exclamations, or other interruptions from the audience are not permitted, and repeated by leaders will result in removal.
Hi.
As a member of the Binghamton University Council, you served as student representative in meetings that are often filled with administrators and other professionals in similar roles. What are some things you've done to ensure that clarity and communication have happened afterwards between the administration and the students? And how are some ways you feel the communication could have been improved?
Okay. Do I have a time?
You have 1 minute.
Okay. Okay, so I think a great way to answer this is through the International Immersion Program. The way that this program really started was through all the conversations I've had with international students across campus, in which they expressed the loneliness that they felt on campus because they couldn't find the community. And at first, this project was not very well received by the administration, but it was actually through many different revisions of the proposal and different funding proposals that we finally came to agreement. And after that agreement was come, I had many back and forths with the students who initially had this concern, shared this concern with me. And so in that way, I think I try to keep the communication open between students and admin.
As a candidate representing both undergraduate and graduate students, how would you navigate divisive campus issues and approach decision-making on complex university-wide policies to ensure fair and inclusive representation?
Right, great question. So I think one thing I did last year that was actually a big point to try to mitigate a very divisive campus is to make sure that the meetings I'm having with organizations spread across all different types of clubs and orgs. This means not only from all different political spectrums, but also things like SOM organizations, also such as athletics, the fraternity and sororities that we have on campus. And being able to get feedback from different perspectives has been really helpful, in which we shape the way that these initiatives end up turning out.
You announced in your platform and just now that you intend to start a peer mentorship program next year between freshmen and sophomores and upperclassmen. What problems do you think this program will face, and what problems does it hope to solve?
Great question. Actually, one of the things that my committee and I have been facing on this program has been recruitment for upperclassmen. So we've been brainstorming a couple ways to be able to get these upperclassmen to be able to sign up as a mentor, and that's currently our biggest concern. Insofar as things that this initiative solves, I think that it solves a lot of the peer connection issues that we end up facing when we first come to college, or just entering a very new environment in general. And many of us are not from the Binghamton area, so transitioning into that process can be very difficult. And I believe that having someone there with you can be a very helpful resource.
Great. We don't need to. Hold this.
I'm now opening up questions to the audience. Anybody? We'll take one question. One lucky contestant.
You can ask me like fun questions as well. Yeah. If you want to, like.
Okay. Seeing none, I guess we'll move on. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Thank you so much. That concludes the BU Council Rep for tonight. Moving on to the Vice President of Programming debate. The Office of the VPP coordinates, oversees, and chairs the Programming Board, which produces and facilitates large-scale programming. I would like to introduce the candidate for the Vice President of Programming, Helena. Woo. You have 3 minutes of introduction.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I am Helena DeYoung-Lambert, a junior majoring in economic analysis, minoring in political science and music, and I am so excited to be running for Vice President of Programming. Since my sophomore year, I've served in varying positions across the Student Association, gaining diverse and tested experience I would love to bring to the Executive Board. I started out as a Student Association representative for Mountain View. In this role, I authored a resolution calling for more student input and environmental sensibility in the construction of the Mountain View Quad, which passed unanimously. I also served on the Finance and Elections and Judiciary Committees, and starting this fall as Chief of Staff to Speaker Blake Goldstein. From this experience, I've built a thorough understanding of how the Student Association, at its best, can robustly advocate for students and help project their clubs and visions into reality. Programming Board is one of the most complex organizations within the SA, with 9 subcommittees, including comedy, concerts, and festivals. I currently co-chair the Partnerships and Collaborations Committee, working to secure outside funding for our events and bring businesses students know and love to campus. Running a programming board as VP requires meticulous planning, top-notch communication, and strong organizational skills, and above all, a sincere passion for ensuring a range of entertainment options for every member of the student body. I have honed the necessary organizational and planning skills, also serving as chair of Student Fleas, executing multiple Student Flea events a semester to give creative students a platform to sell merchandise ranging from crafted makeup and jewelry to thrifted clothes. The next ones are on April 8th and 17th. I have loved providing these spaces for vendors, and if you know a student with a small business who isn't already a part of Student Fleas, please let me know. These experiences across the Programming Board and the Student Association in general underlie my current goals. I have seen that Programming Board already functions exceptionally well, thanks to the passionate and very hardworking people who make up the committees. But our student body is evolving. Binghamton students are more involved than ever before, joining and forming more clubs and associations every year. I believe SAPB has a unique role to play in partnering with both established organizations and uncharted clubs to ensure that our events reflect the full range of student interests and bring more of us together. Programming is the heartbeat of the student experience. It's the comedy show that makes you forget a hard midterm. It's the concert that defines your junior year. It's the flea market where you find your favorite jacket. I have the tested experience to handle the logistics, the proven leadership to manage the committees, and the sincere passion to make sure every single student feels seen on this campus with their entertainment options. My name is Helena Diang Lambert. Let's build a student experience that belongs to all of us. Thank you.
The Student Association Programming Board has brought in a number of new speakers throughout this year, including John Green and recently Debbie Ryan. How do you plan to build upon or diversify the types of programming offered to maintain student engagement going into the future?
So I think a really important part of this is, first of all, the fact that we do need to secure these contracts often on a short-term basis. So students sometimes don't know the speakers and performers that they're going to see ahead of time with more than 2 weeks' notice. So I want to create a monthly calendar that goes on the Student Association Programming Board website so students see all of the entertainment options that they have. And if they really want to see a certain speaker, or they find that of the entertainment options that month, they really don't see anything that appeals to them, they can let us know. They can say, hey, I've really been looking for more things that match this niche interest. You'd be surprised how many overlapping interests and passions there are on this campus. And so I want to create an open forum where students can give us that feedback, and we can try to make sure that there is an entertainment option for everyone on campus.
In particular, what are your big goals moving into the next academic year?
So one of my major goals is the fact that I think there can be so much more partnership between our organizations on campus, from long-standing organizations to even uncharted clubs, in supporting our events. We often have student organizations perform before some of our major events. However, I want to open up this opportunity to more student organizations on campus. And for our major events, I want to open up tabling opportunities for clubs so that they can gain funding opportunities and simply opportunities to increase engagement with their clubs. I also think my other major goal relates to people knowing about their programming options, which again is why I want to revitalize the Programming Board website to make sure that students know about all of their options at the beginning of the month instead of maybe 2 weeks before.
I'm now opening up the floor to audience questions.
I'll ask a question since no one else is. What has been your favorite program so far?
That's a good question. I think we had a student flea event in November that was in the undergrounds, and I think that had just a lot of really good overlapping demographics. We had some of the most flea vendors that we've had at any student flea events this year. There's a lot of foot traffic because a lot of people tend to go through the undergrounds from 5 to 7, and we found the vendors got to sell a lot of stuff. Everyone found about new businesses that they loved, and it was overall just a really positive event, and I hope to emulate that with more events this semester in the undergrounds.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Please.
What is your favorite place to eat off campus?
There's this pho restaurant called Pho Nui that I say is better than phenomenal. It's really, really good, and the guy that works there is incredible. We love his restaurant. My roommate's here. We always get dinner there.
We'll take one more question from the audience if anyone is interested.
Okay.
Justina.
Who would you want to bring to spring break?
The question was, who would you want to bring to spring?
Well, matching our 2016 Coachella theme, I think Sarah Larson could be pretty cool.
Thank you so much, Alina. That concludes the Vice President of Programming debate for tonight. And now we're going to move on to the Vice President of Multicultural Affairs debate for tonight. The Office of the VPMA coordinates, oversees, and chairs the Intercultural Awareness Committee. They promote and facilitate a diverse, equitable, inclusive, and multicultural university community. I would like to introduce the candidates for the Vice President for Multicultural Affairs. I first welcome Anna to the podium.
Hi everyone, my name is Anna Drangle. I'm a junior double majoring in PPL and sociology, and I'm from Queens, New York. As your VPMA, I plan to fight for your voice, visibility, outreach, inclusion, community, and empowerment. My campaign centers on highlighting the resources in the multicultural space for incoming students so they're aware of how this campus can serve them when they first come to the university. Additionally, I plan to host monthly town hall meetings in the MRC, as well as conduct frequent student outreach through surveys to get authentic input for future university events, and to compile a report of student concerns that for my cabinet to address. Additionally, I plan to host a multicultural art gallery for students to express their diverse experiences and identity for the campus to see and to increase their visibility. And lastly, I plan to advocate for more authentic catering for multicultural events by asking the Binghamton University Dining Services to partner with local multicultural food businesses so we can celebrate our cultures in the most authentic sense. I chose to run for the Vice President for Multicultural Affairs because the multicultural space on Binghamton University has truly shaped me as a person. I have watched how our banquets, general body meetings, and organized events have truly served our student body by providing a safe space and spaces of representation for the students on campus. And with that, I plan to empower our communities and ensure they have the resources they need to thrive by prioritizing student outreach. I was first introduced to the multicultural space on campus by becoming an intern for Pulse in my freshman year. With that, I was elected as their historian 2 years ago, and I currently serve as their secretary. In this role, I've had the opportunity to facilitate numerous collaborations with different organizations in the multicultural space, deepening my involvement in the community and learning firsthand what issues we deal with and what exactly it takes to plan events, as well as find catering for from different organizations. With that, I know these processes can be very stressful, and because of that, as your VPMA, I want to make them as easy as possible by being a resource. The multicultural community has truly brought me out of my shell, and it's inspired me to join the Binghamton University Council Representative Committee, and I am now their Director of Outreach and Advocacy. From this, I have increased my student involvement by reaching out to different organizations, gauging their concerns, and using that feedback to translate into initiatives to create helpful resources on campus, like our new mentorship program and our upcoming international immersion program. Overall, I plan to use my skills in the multicultural community, as well as my deep connection to the space, to advocate for your voice as VPMA. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Now we welcome Farhat to the podium.
Hi everyone, my name is Farhat. I'm a junior majoring in environmental studies. My one goal in life is to have an impact on my community, and that starts here at Binghamton as your next BPMA. I want to become a vessel for all multicultural organizations on campus. I want to uplift all of them, I want to empower them, and I want to unite all of them. And by doing so, I will focus my campaign on 3 pillars. So first being communication, advocacy, and community. So communication, I want to host monthly dialogue sessions between all students in the multicultural resource room so that students can come and talk about anything that is on their mind, whether it be pertaining to their social identity, their cultural background, or just issues that are going on in the world. I just want to be like, hey, I'm here for you, I'm here to listen. And if you need me to point you into the direction for any resources, I can do that for you. Advocacy, I want to implement listening sessions between the BPMA office and multicultural organizations on campus. I want to create a calendar as flexible as possible so that students can come to the BPMA office about anything related to the office. So whether that be concerns that they have with the office, things that are going on with their organization that they want to address, or even just like, hey, like I want to see your office do this next year, or like right now, like I want to see you guys do this. And I want to implement that feedback into C3 meetings to make these meetings more efficient for student organizations and address any direct student concerns. And finally, community. I want to give students what they want the most, that is engagement, and increase membership. To do that, I will do this by creating a multicultural newsletter. This is going to be separate from the Beeline calendar that we get every single day. I want to highlight multicultural organizations, any past events that you guys have had, any upcoming events that you guys have, whatever it is that your organization wants to demonstrate to the Binghamton community, because you guys work so hard on these events, and I think that should be showcased. Next, I want to create bi-weekly cultural events in which students from any organization can come and bring their ideas to the space and share with other students, other multicultural organizations. So for example, like 1 week we could have one organization do a henna night, and then week after the next week do like a movie screening of some sort from another organization to foster a closer community. As your VPMA, I want to ensure that all students feel fairly represented, supported, and united here on campus. And together with these initiatives, I think that we can do so. Thank you.
So, thank you. Now that we're going to head into the question period, candidates who would like to issue a rebuttal should raise their hands, and then they'll be recognized. There are 2 rebuttals, and a maximum of 1 minute per each are allowed. During this period, applauses, exclamations, or other interruptions from the audience is not permitted, and repeated violations will result in removal.
As VPMA, you'll play a key role in mediating relationships among diverse student groups, especially during significant events. How will you ensure fair representation and foster open dialogue between these organizations?
Yeah, definitely. To ensure fair dialogue and open communication between these organizations, I want to foster first that safe space, like I said before, for students, so that students can come to me about anything that they have in mind, whether it be something that they're not comfortable with another organization doing, whether it be something that they want to see my office do more of. And I think I kind of brought this up before in my communication and advocacy points, when I want to create that safe space for students to come to me during any time, whether it be in Multicultural Resource Center to discuss any social or like outside concerns, or even during resistance sessions, so students can come to me and discuss whatever it is that they want to discuss. I just want to be an open ear to all students, regardless of what their background is.
Thank you. Okay, we'll switch whenever you're ready. You can start and then we'll talk.
Okay, I think that's a super important question, and to foster this dialogue, first and foremost, I will build trust with the community by frequently reaching out to them, either to collaborate with my office or just to schedule a one-on-one on any concerns they're having. Additionally, I plan to host monthly town hall meetings in the MRC for organizations to come in more of a casual setting and address those immediate concerns that they're having with administrators and myself, and to how we're based on those concerns from all. I plan to be intentional with the organizations I reach out to, making sure that everybody knows that I'm there as a resource, and by participating in their events and them seeing my face, I hope they can trust me to advocate for what they need on campus. In addition, I think a really important part of this is about fostering collaboration between different organizations by encouraging them to interact with each other during the C3 meetings or the multicultural mixers in the MRC.
Thank you. Anna, you're going to start the next one. You can keep the mic.
How do your personal experiences play a factor in your perspective of student life? Will this play a factor in your focus as a VPMA candidate?
Yeah, that's a really good question. When I first came to Binghamton University, I was honestly just looking for a place of belonging and for a community of like-minded women that could empower me, and I found that with Pulse, luckily. But then within that, I continued to expand myself in the multicultural community, and I learned so much about different cultures, and was opened up to so many different opportunities on campus. For example, I was a performer in Henna Club's fashion show last year, and I plan to perform with them again. And that's an opportunity I would have never had if I didn't put myself out there in the multicultural space. So you know how important these communities are for students really finding support and their grounding. So as VPMA, I really want to highlight those spaces for incoming students who know that those spaces are there for them, and who can also find a community that empowers them and introduces them to those new opportunities.
Great.
Can I ask you to repeat the question one more time, please? Thank you.
How do your personal experiences play a factor in your perspective of student life? Will this play a factor in your focus as a VPMA candidate?
My personal experiences here at Binghamton have definitely been shaped by all of the experiences that I've had on campus. So freshman year, I joined a club called Nyberg. They're a student activist focus group, and we do a lot of volunteer work. They have several chapters across the state. I actually also interned for their legislative office last spring semester in Albany, and that was really great. It opened my eyes up a lot to the issues that we face, not only here at Binghamton, but outside of Binghamton. I also currently work in the EVP office as the executive assistant, and I think that both of these roles have really developed my ability to advocate for other students and also specifically to the role in the SA office right now, I've seen the ins and outs of how the student association works. I see where student voices might not be heard, and I want to leverage that point as VPMA candidate to advocate for multicultural organizations on campus.
You will be taking this next question first. As VPMA, it's expected for you to be involved in the many multicultural organizations on campus. What do you think will be the most productive strategies that you could implement to improve the multicultural communities on campus, and why?
Sorry, could you repeat the last part of that question?
I'll just repeat the whole. As VPMA, it is expected for you to be involved in the many multicultural organizations on campus. What do you think will be the most productive strategies that you could implement to improve the multicultural communities on campus, and why?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a really important question. I want to be as involved as I possibly can be in all sorts of multicultural events on campus. I want to put myself out there as much as I possibly can. I think that kind of going back to what I said before about creating the newsletter and highlighting events that are upcoming within these organizations is something that I can do to make these multicultural events more productive, have students more engaged with these events, myself included.
So for this question, I really want to implement surveys for the student body and hear their feedback on past multicultural events and what they want to see in upcoming multicultural events. And with this, I hope to increase attendance at these events that the university hosts or that other organizations host. And I really want to increase students' voices and agency in the type of events that are here because this community is supposed to serve them. So I think that would be very productive. Additionally, I do want to make my face known and be as active as possible in different organizations' general body meetings and constantly reaching out with my cabinet, making sure that they know that I am there as a resource. But overall, just prioritizing students' voices in event facilitation, I feel like would be the most productive strategy.
All right. We will now take 2 questions from the audience. Right there.
Besides for what you discussed in your platform, how will you ensure that students of multicultural backgrounds feel safe on this campus, especially during our current political climate?
I'm sure it's okay. I'm so sorry to ask you to repeat your question. You got it. Thank you.
So aside from what you have discussed in your platform, how will you ensure that students of multicultural backgrounds feel safe on this campus, especially given our current political climate?
So this is a really important question. I think most of all, just emphasizing that at the end of the day, we all want the same thing, which is safety and representation. So I think when we're having these dialogues, I'm open to having them done at the monthly town hall meetings or secondary meetings, and just really emphasizing that we should all learn from each other and understand where each other are coming from. And I'll just be there as a neutral mediator to actively listen to the students' concerns and ensure that all of them feel safe. And additionally, I plan to build that trust with the community by being so active in the multicultural space. I really want all students to know that they can participate in the conversation and that I am there to support them.
Yeah, I think this is a really important question, especially given our current political climate. In addition to having that open dialogue session, I want to add maybe more meetings, more relevant to so we can discuss issues that are more relevant to our current political climate today, and foster more of a safe space. And I just want students to know that they can come to me or come to anyone from the VPA office because we're all here for you and we just want what's best for students and for them to feel supported and safe on campus.
Okay, we'll be taking one more question. Person in the back there is going to send.
Can you share more on your personal reasons and how you think this role will be used in your future?
Yeah, that's a great question. So post-grad, I want to go to grad school and I want to pursue a master's in public policy. My end goal is just ultimately obviously help people, but I want to go into the policy sector of some sort to be a voice for those who can't be a voice for themselves. And I think that my role here as VPMA would help me do that because I can be the voice for all these organizations, even if there are times in which they can't be a voice for themselves.
Yeah, so I've always been very passionate about equity and creating safe spaces for marginalized communities as a sociology major, especially in my experiences in high school and different activist organizations. And with that, I plan to go to law school and become a lawyer in the public sector and continue to fight for those safe spaces and break the systemic barriers for marginalized communities. So I believe this role would be a great way to see how I can advocate for a space that's typically oppressed and continue to advocate for that their resources and conduct that outreach that would be necessary in the legal field.
Thank you. Okay, so before you guys go, we have closing remarks. And so those are going to be a minute each. We could start with Farhad.
All right, I just want to thank everyone for coming here tonight. I know all of you are taking time out of your day to come and listen to all of us speak about our platforms, and I really appreciate that. I know that I'm not very well versed in every single culture that there is here to offer at Binghamton, but what I am well versed in is being a good listener, and I think that's a skill that I'm very proud of myself for, honing through my many leadership roles here at Binghamton and outside of the Binghamton community. I want to help amplify your voice. I want to advocate for your wants and needs. And I just want to be that vessel for you guys. So as BPMA, I want to ensure that all students feel represented and like they matter here on campus. Thank you.
Thank you guys all for listening to me today. I hope you understand how passionate I am about the multicultural community and how much I truly understand the struggles that we go through and what it takes to goes into these events that we plan. All I want to do is make these processes easier for us so we can amplify our voices and our impact on campus. So I hope you guys trust me to fight for your voice at BPMA. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That concludes the SA Vice President for Multicultural Affairs debate. Moving on, we have SA Vice President for Student Success. The Office of the Vice President for Student Success coordinates and oversees advocates, which counsels and represents any student requesting such representation when accused of violating Binghamton University policy. They also coordinate and oversee the Student Association's advocacy relating to academic matters and are responsible for advocacy on behalf of general student success. I would like to introduce the candidates, August Ray and Emily Landis, both of whom I will invite to make their introductory statements. August is going to be first.
Hi, my name is August Ray. I'm a sophomore majoring in political science and minoring in education. And in my roles at Binghamton University, one of the few that I'm the most proud of is the BPMA of CIW Council. And in that role, really what I strive to do as a Hall BPMA of Oneida, as well as the area-wide BPMA of CIW Council, was to expand the role and to make sure that the CIW Council BPMAs were collaborating with the multicultural community on campus. To me, it felt really disrespectful to be holding multicultural events in a silo, knowing that there were people of that community that were already doing the work and that we just had to reach out to them. And then in Shades, for example, I'm the political activist chair. And in that role, a lot of what I do is designing posts to inform our general body about current political events. For example, we made a post about like the government shutdown and what that meant, what bill really shut that down, and what like the uncertainty for the future would look like. And my goal for PAC of Shades was to take that role more offline. And like while the post is informative and great, it is at the end of the day just a post. And so I worked over this past semester to bring that same activism in person. And I planned a protest ice out of Broome County with 12 student organizations and 11 off-campus organizations. And I worked to really voice demands that I want to see changed in the Binghamton community on a statewide level, on a countywide level, and also in our city as well. But I think as well, whenever I approach a role, my first thought is how can I expand this role? And I wanted to take that same care and really come at the VPSS office with that same care. And that brings me to my main pillars, which is accessibility, affordability, and accountability. With accessibility, my goal is to make student success more accessible and affordable to all students, regardless of who they are or where they come from, as well as to hold the Student Association and Binghamton administration better accountable to all students. Because at the end of the day, the Student Association and Bing admin are there to serve students, and oftentimes it feels like they're not. And so you'll see policy of mine, for example, in accessibility, which looks like expanding the QR codes to make sure that our accessibility measures on campus are operational more often than they aren't. But also, and for affordability, for example, creating a VPSS grant that helps reduce the cost of summer and winter courses so that all students, regardless of your socioeconomic background, have access to ways to get ahead or to catch up. And then in terms of accountability, one of the things I'm most proud of is I want to initiate a Narcan education as well as an alcohol poisoning education initiative so that we're proactive about our harm reduction on campus so that we're not waiting for the next bad thing to happen before we create policy to address bad things that happen on this campus. As Binghamton University grows, our party culture will also grow with it. And I think it's very important that we stay ahead of that curve and
But you can finish your thought.
that we stay ahead of that curve and work to serve the communities we represent.
Thank you so much. Emily, you can start whenever.
Okay, cool. Hi, everyone. Thank you all for being here. My name is Emily Landis. I'm a sophomore studying political science, originally from Brooklyn, New York. Over the past 2 years, I've had the privilege of serving you all in the Student Association, first as representative for Dickinson, and now as Student Life and Academics Chair. In these roles, I've spoken directly with students about mental health, academic barriers, and the challenges they face trying to access campus resources. Those conversations, I've learned something incredibly important. Success is not about hard work. It's about whether the systems around you are actually supporting you. Right now, students are facing too long of wait times to get into the University Counseling Center. They sign leases without fully knowing their rights, and so many students simply do not know where to turn when they need help. As Vice President for Student Success, my goal is simple. I want to take down those external barriers so that when students come on campus, they can focus on one thing, being a student. My platform focuses on 3 main pillars. First, I want to prioritize student well-being. Mental health is foundational to academic success, yet accessing support is unnecessarily difficult. I want to advocate for an online booking system at the UCC, push for more diverse counseling so when students get healthcare, they're actually seeing themselves being represented. And I also want to normalize self-advocacy. I think it's so important that students feel empowered to speak up, seek accommodations, and say something when services do not exist to support them. Secondly, I want to focus on student tenant power and protection. Nearly 60% of our campus lives off campus, mainly in the West Side and Johnson City. Yet too many students are navigating leases, housing codes, and landlord responsibilities without having clear guidance. I want to work to expand legal resources, create how-to videos so that students know exactly what they're signing on to, and strengthen transparency tools that the VPSS office already offers, like the Rate My Housing site, and so that students can make informed decisions and hold landlords accountable. Lastly, I want to expand access to essential resources. So many students do not know where to turn. I want to create a comprehensive resource guide that connects students to health, financial, educational, cultural, and community resources regardless of your status. Over the last 2 years, I've worked within the Student Association. I understand how decisions get made, where barriers exist, and how to push policies forward despite that. If elected, I want to continue fighting to make Binghamton a campus where every student has the tools that they need to be successful. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to questions now. So, both of your platforms emphasize building out and making available more resources to the student body. How do you plan to grow the office of the VPSS to achieve these goals? And do you think it will need more funding to achieve your goals? I'm going to give this to Emily first.
Wait, can you repeat the question? So you're asking, can you just repeat the second part of the question, please?
I can repeat the question.
Yeah, sure.
Both of your platforms emphasize building out and making available more resources to the student body. How do you plan to grow the office of the VPSS to achieve these goals? And do you think it will need more funding to achieve your goals?
Yeah, absolutely. Having worked in the student association for so long, I understand that one of our most finite resources is money. I think that we can use the money and budget that we currently already have to expand the role of the VPSS office. I think visibility is so important. Students need to see us on campus, in the union, in Bartle, talking, being approachable so that they know that they can come to us with their issues and we can immediately address it right there, point them in the direction of an on-campus resource, or if that resource isn't working for them, set up a time right then and there so that we can address it almost immediately. I think that's something that I've done already this year through the Connection Project. It was an initiative where I go directly into clubs. I speak to students candidly about mental health struggles affecting all college students, how to get access to resources, and again, self-advocacy, going out and speaking up if those resources aren't working for you. I think tabling is so important. We need that boots on the ground approach as the VPS's office.
Great.
And August, I'm gonna give you a chance to answer that question as well.
Can I get through?
Of course. Both of your platforms emphasize building out and making available more resources to the student body. How do you plan to grow the office of the VPSS to achieve these goals? And do you think it will need more funding to achieve your goals?
I think my first initial response to that would be making sure that we do the most with what we currently have. And with the VPSS, as of right now, like we work to fund Harper's Edge and to provide those same like micro credentials that Harper's Edge offers. That comes from the VPSS. I would like to take that same idea and really expand it and grow it, and use the VPSS budget to help create a grant to reduce the cost of summer and winter courses by working with departments themselves. So like say if you're a political science student and there's an intro-level class that we see is taken over the summer very often for whatever reason, I think it only makes sense that that should be the class that we prioritize the most when we look at a grant that helps reduce the cost to make that resource available to all students. And we will be using department budgets to help make that happen, as they are given a lot more money than VPSS is, and that helps really make sure that those funds are stretched as far as they can be. But then also, I think there is a lot of room for growth within the VPSS position itself, and within the services we provide students and the budget capabilities that we have currently. And so I would like to see fundraising efforts by VPSS so that we can increase our budget in a way that is sustainable. Pretty good spot to end it. Okay. In the way that is sustainable and prioritizes all students.
All right, thank you. So,
If you're
both of your platforms.
wait. So you have 1 minute.
Okay. I appreciate the goal of making courses more affordable, especially for summer and winter classes where students are not getting access to financial aid. However, one of the challenges that makes this program kind of difficult is that, financial aid is typically administered through the financial aid offices here at Binghamton because they typically involve eligibility verification and protected student information that we would not get access to because of FERPA laws, which are federal privacy acts. The Student Association does not currently have the authority or infrastructure to expand access to administer financial aid in the form of a grant or whether it's an actual aid package. Because of that, I think the focus should instead be on expanding access to already existing affordability resources and making sure that students can actually find those so that they can take these classes. Thank you. What do you think?
Should we have a response to the rebuttal?
My immediate response to that would be that sometimes visibility is not enough. Sometimes you can put a link on a website or you can direct students to that resource, but that doesn't necessarily translate to more students using that. And I think when we create these grants, when we create these things, and we're very candid about what they serve, it's not a scholarship. It would be a grant in this case, and you would be applying through the program in the same way that you apply for, say, like the summer internship, making sure that you get money for the summer internship. It's there to help students, and it's really there to make sure that that is very clear. And it shows that all students really can get that leg up regardless of where they come from and who they are. And I think that is very important as somebody like every student really deserves a chance at success regardless of who they are.
Thank you. All right. Both of your platforms focus largely on getting the student association more involved in the workings of campus and extracting changes from university administration. Do you think we do enough within the student association to foster student success? If so, what do you hope to continue? And if not, what do you hope to change? I'll give this question to August first.
Short answer would be no, I don't think we currently do enough. And I think one of the first things that come to mind is the way FinCo operates. FinCo, they are responsible for the budget reevaluations of all essay organizations on this campus. But I rarely see them at a lot of the multicultural meetings in this campus. And I think that's something that a lot of multicultural students in the multicultural orgs have really felt and seen, is it feels like there is a disconnect between the communities that FinCo is supposed to serve and FinCo itself. And whether that is a real issue or if it's just a feeling of that issue, that same institutional distrust exists regardless of that. And I think a good way of addressing that institutional distrust would be to change the way that FinCo operates and to make sure that it seems like FinCo really is working for specific students, working for all students as well. And I think for me, my first initiative that I would really think about with that is making sure that FinCo meetings happen in person. The budget reevaluations happen in person rather than on Zoom unless specifically requested by the org for an accessibility reason or because it works easier for them. I think FinCo should be working to make sure that they meet students where they are instead of the other way around.
Stop. Do you mind repeating the question?
Yes. Both of your platforms focus largely on getting the Student Association more involved in the workings of campus and extracting changes from university administration. Do you think we do enough within the Student Association to foster student success? If so, what do you hope to continue? And if not, what do you hope to change?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with my opponent here. I don't think we do enough. I think there has to be more. Students deserve better. I think some of the great things that the VPSS office currently has is an accessibility liaison to make sure disabled students are getting the help that they need when they need it. I also really enjoy this website, the Rate My Housing site, so students can make informed decisions together and hold landlords accountable. However, I think we need to push past that and continue to expand. Visibility, again, is so important. It's not just about a social media post. It's about physically being there. I've spent countless hours as SLA chair, tabling in Bartle, tabling in the Union. We need to continue that. We have to have this boots on the ground approach so students can come up to us, know that our office is a safe space so they can express particularly vulnerable concerns that they have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I rebut?
Yes.
Okay. I also just want to note that the VPSS office operates in a completely different branch of government within the SA from the FinCo committee. It's up. While I agree that having the FinCo committee be present and feeling that they're connected to the multicultural community, it's completely up to the discretion of the FinCo chair on whether or not to have in-person or virtual meetings. I agree there needs to be more for FinCo, but it's simply out of the VPS's scope, given the fact that it's a completely different branch of government, operates under Congress. Yep.
When I think about student success, I think about that crossing multiple branches of Congress or multiple branches of the SA, whether that's the executive branch or the Congress branch. FinCo not being trusted by multicultural communities hurts their student success in the same way that not having an accessibility liaison would hurt the student success of people with mobility issues. And so I think regardless of that branch crossover, there is still like a common goal here for FinCo to be working with the VPSS and working to be more accountable. And I think really it is just kind of a job of making sure that all of the branches of the SA are working for the same common goal of making sure that our institution is something that students feel like they can put their trust in.
Given your respective platforms and with a growing mental health crisis in Binghamton, how will you help students find the available mental wellness resources on campus and become more comfortable using them? I'm going to give this to Emily first.
Yeah. Just as a student myself, I've walked friends to VAR, to the University Counseling Center countless times. I think it's so important that we have that buddy system. I want the VPSS office to feel like a space where students can come in and speak directly to us, express their concerns, and then we can walk them there or point them in the right direction of where the University Counseling Center is. I also think there's a huge disconnect on how the University Counseling Center operates versus what students actually want. I think creating an online booking system will make it way easier for students to get in and get the help that they need way quicker. I also want to advocate for diverse counselors. Students need to see themselves in the healthcare that they're receiving so that they're not sat here for an hour, 2 hours explaining their lived experiences to a counselor who's simply not going to get it. The more diverse counselors we have, the more diverse students we can support, and the more diverse needs that we can, support as well.
I think this is something where me and my opponent feel a lot of common ground on this, and we have a lot of common ground. But I would like to be very specific. When we talk about diverse counselors, I want specifically queer counselors, BIPOC counselors, first-generation counselors, international counselors, counselors that really reflect every single aspect of what it means to be a Binghamton student, whether that's you're the majority or whether that means that you're not that majority. And I think it's also very important that we work to remove barriers for communities that have traditionally had barriers. Like as somebody who is Latino, reaching out and asking for mental health is something that's very hard within my community. It's very stigmatized. And I think when we work to make sure that these resources work for students, it's meeting them where they are instead of asking them to meet us where we are.
Thank you. All right, I'm now going to open this up to 2 questions from the audience.
First of all, thank you. Before I begin the question, just before I forget, when both of you answer, please speak closer to the mic.
Sorry about that.
On both of your platforms that are on the Student Association website and the platforms you presented today, at the beginning, throughout your questions and answers, you identified many goals that are related to external organizations that are outside of the 5013C that is the Student Association, such as university departments, UCC, and also student employers. In addition, SA committees were mentioned, such as FinCo, which are not under the purview of the VPSS. Other issues were mentioned that are under the purview of other executive positions, such as VPMA or VPF. What is your understanding of your responsibilities, jurisdiction, and role as VPSS? And again, please speak close to the mic.
Yes, I will, Yoav. Thank you. Thank you for that question. As VPSS, the goal of the office is simple: to make students successful. There's certain things that are simply not under our scope. Whether it's OCCT, that's under the VPF's office, FinCo, that's under SA Congress. That's just not within our purview. And I understand that my opponent, thinks that we have to have this collaboration. I absolutely agree, especially with the university administration. As a freshman rep and as student life and academics chair, I've worked with Chris Downey, the director of the UCC, countless times. I've had difficult discussions with him, and I will continue to put students forward because that's what we need. We need a VPSS who is going to forever put the students forward and keep them a seat at the table and not back down when conversations get tough. But yeah, absolutely, I agree that there's certain things that are just not within the purview of our office and should be left to other offices. Not that because they're not important issues, but because they're simply not within our scope. And we need to focus on issues that we can actually get done, or else we will not get anything done at all.
When I think about the VPSS office, I think about what's within the jurisdiction of the VPSS office, but also the access that the VPSS office gives you, whether that's having easier access, creating meetings with other branches of administration, whether that's having easy access to the SA office and all the other positions there. I think the idea that every single institution must work in a silo keeps us from making efficient moves and really actually maximizing our success. And I also think that barriers to student success don't just happen within a very small section of students, and they're all kind of interlinked. When you think about it, you pull on like a thread when it comes to like working with marginalized groups and you're unraveling the whole thing. And so I would argue that a lot of these offices are vastly interlinked, and a lot of them are keeping students from being successful, and a lot of them are keeping students from really being open about their mental health, and that we need to approach every single one of these issues like they are nuanced and like they have multiple factors approaching them, not just one single variable.
Thank you. Do we have another question?
The Greater Binghamton area has a lot of organizations that work on tenants' rights and spreading awareness about those rights. What organizations, if any, do you plan to work with?
Yeah, when it comes to tenants' rights, one of the first things that I think of is Citizen Action. Citizen Action works very closely with the Tenants Union in Binghamton, and they do a lot of housing advocacy. I think about my time as a canvasser for the Miles Burnett campaign over the summer, and where I heard a lot of Binghamton residents talking about what it feels like to be pushed out of their communities that they've lived here for generations because they keep becoming student housing. And while I do think that we have a role as students to live in the community that we go to school in, I also think that when we give students unequal access to protection, lawyers, tenants unions, we are contributing to the gentrification of Binghamton, and that's something that we have to be cognizant of at all times. When we say these very blanket wise statements like, oh, we should provide access to lawyers, we should have all of these things, but these resources aren't granted equally among all residents of Binghamton, we're only pushing certain groups out and in favor of what oftentimes looks like luxury student housing instead of communities.
Do you mind repeating the question just one more time?
The Greater Binghamton area has a lot of organizations that work on tenants' rights and spreading awareness about those rights. What organizations, if any, do you plan to work with?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's some great resources that are not offered under the SA. The Binghamton Housing Project, I think, is a really important one. If you go on their website, they have full, list of what tenants' rights are available. I think working with those people who already have these resources available is so important. I also think getting into city council and especially with the midterms coming up, getting into conversations with their new assembly member and the Senate and the state senator, are so important so that we can expand tenants' rights to not only just students, but to all people. I think, but also as the VPSS, we're focused on students. I want to make sure that students know their tenants' rights because these large housing corporations are prying on students not knowing their rights, not knowing the law, and specifically not voting in the Binghamton area. With the multicultural voting fair and Chalk the Vote, I want to get more students registered as Binghamton voters so we have greater pull over housing policy, not to push local residents out, but so all landlords are held accountable and they're not prying on student tenants and local residents as well.
Okay. Thank you so much. Now we have closing statements. So, yeah, you have 1 minute.
Yeah, as VPSS, my goal is simple. I want to make sure that all students are successful here, no matter where they come from, their housing situation, or their identity. I want to do this with a few key priorities like student well-being, tenant power and protection, and ensuring universal access. I want to be a visible VPSS. I want to be someone that students can come to and ensure that my cabinet are full of friendly people who are willing to help no matter what the issue is, big or small.
One of the things about looking at the VPSS specifically, my first instinct is to think about Cora. And Cora's Institute recently had a banquet called Swing Estrello, which is Golden Dreams. And they talked about the reality of this immigrant dream and this American dream, and how a lot of times it feels like the American dream isn't real, but this immigrant dream needs to be real. And that got me thinking, what does success look like in a system that wasn't built with you in mind? And really my platform of accessibility, affordability, and accountability works to bring success to students that traditionally slip through the cracks. And I feel like every single student deserves a fair shot at success. And that's measured by their merit, not by what resources they know on campus, or by whether or not they have a hard time reaching out to those resources, or whether or not these resources are even working in their favor. I think when we build a Binghamton that's more equitable for all students, we build a Binghamton that is better, not just in its resources and what it provides in the student, but also in the accomplishment in the community that we bring to it.
Thank you so much. That concludes the SA Vice President of Student Success debate. And now we're going to move on to the SA Vice President for Finance. The Office of the VPF trains, assists, and coordinates all who deal with the Student Association's finances. They implement the financial procedures and recommend necessary changes in the financial policies to Congress. I would like to introduce the candidates for the VPF, Luciana and Nina. You have your 3-minute introductory statements.
Okay.
Hi everyone, my name is Luciana Negri. I'm a current junior studying business administration with concentration in finance and management information systems. I also currently serve as a fundraising assistant and was a general assistant last semester. I'm also on WHRW, so tune in Tuesdays 2:30 to 4 if you want some good music. But currently, as the fundraising assistant, I see a lot of treasurers come and go through the office, facing a lot of concerns and a lot of confusion with our financial procedures. So my platform and my 5 pillars are based on the intel that I've gathered through my time in the office. So my first pillar is accessibility, increasing the accessibility within the VPS office. I want to collaborate with the VPSS office. Sorry, did I say? I want to collaborate with the VPSS's office to create audio files for our financial resources to increase our accessibility as well as creating virtual office hours so students, no matter where they are on campus, can pop in and ask any of their proving questions. So my second pillar is communication. So currently we don't have a master list of our treasurers and presidents for our organization, so I want to change that. And along with that, I want to create a weekly newsletter where I am sharing and updating our campus boards with important information, dates, and links to all of our financial resources, since that can be a little difficult to find. My third pillar is reformation. As we currently know, the treasurer training system is kind of outdated, and I want to create supplementary treasurer training sessions that focus on more in-depth explaining on how to create vouchers as well as specialized vouchers. My fourth pillar is transparency, so I want to rework the internal affairs of the VPS office to increase the transparency between OCCT, its staff, and the VPF office, And then my last pillar is support. I want to continue to support Harper's Ferry's increase in funding as well as OCCT's increase in funding. As a student in Binghamton, obviously, I think culture is crucial and makes Binghamton Binghamton. So I want to continue to support our students both financially and alleviate some of that financial burden that many of our students face.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nina Thomas, and I'm a sophomore majoring in political science and economics. And I'm running for the position of Vice President for Finance. Throughout the past year, I've served on the FinCo committee of the SA Congress and spent a month sitting on the Club Sports Budget Allocation Committee. Being a part of FinCo, I've learned more about the financial policies and procedures that I have in some of my own classes. I've spent countless hours in meetings with clubs, allocating budgets, and learning about the unique events that each organization holds, from hosting banquets to performances to traveling to conferences. Most importantly, I've had the opportunity to connect and learn from the diverse range of clubs that our campus community has and makes it so vibrant. At Binghamton, clubs and organizations are the backbone of student life. They're where students find their place and find their voice. I've experienced this firsthand when I joined SA Congress this year and had the honor of being appointed to Director of Public Relations. In this role, I was able to help create the new Department of Public Relations within the SA Congress. Working to create this department was a new challenge because there was no precedent to follow, and as something like this had never been done before. However, I turned this challenge into an opportunity to articulate my vision for what I wanted to turn the SA Congress social media into, something that students could be able to use to find resources, learn more about Congress, and even get involved. And I was able to do that exactly by more than doubling the followers of this account within the span of one semester. Building on that experience of improving communication and accessibility, I want to apply the same approach to how the VPF's office is run and how we support student organizations financially. I've seen firsthand that for many club leaders, navigating the financial policies, whether it be submitting vouchers, managing budgets, or creating budget presentations, can feel very overwhelming. My goal is to change that by making processes clearer, more supportive, and more effective for everyone. If elected as Vice President for Finance, I will hold regular office hours to provide direct support, lead budgeting workshops for club leaders, and offer follow-up meetings to ensure long-term financial success and accountability. To increase engagement, I will maintain our normal mandatory treasury training sessions, but also work with the EVP to implement a treasury training session at the Fall Leadership Conference so club leaders can get all significant information they need at one main training session. I will also create a set of virtual resources so treasurers have ongoing support throughout the whole year. Finally, I will prioritize transparency by introducing clearer budgeting templates for clubs and club sports and enhancing communication through tools like how-to guides for specific vouchers and contracts through the VPF social media account and updating the materials on the current essay website. Overall, I would love for the opportunity to serve as your next Vice President for Finance. Thank you.
So we're going to start with Nina and then Luciana. Clubs and organizations can often be met with challenges understanding correct financial procedure and the rules in relation to finance. Do you think that these issues are mostly policy or communication? How will you go about solving them? And what methods will you use to make this process more efficient, understandable, and clear?
I believe that a main issue that comes with understanding financial policies is communication. I think that in order to solve this problem, I'll be using the VPF social media account so that treasurers have a resource which they're able to access easily on their phone, and updating the current resources that are on the financial resources, which can be found on the SA website.
Sorry. I think that the root of the issue is both communication and policy. As someone who has gone to multiple training sessions, treasury training sessions, I feel like the training sessions don't end up allowing people to actually retain information. I feel like something that I've noticed a lot is people will come to us with clarifying questions and concerns. So in order to mitigate that, I want to create like I said, supplementary training sessions that go in depth on the different kinds of vouchers that treasurers may encounter, as well as how to fill out a regular voucher, because a lot of people come in not knowing how to do that. I also want to provide exemplary vouchers on the SA VPF drive in order for treasurers to be able to refer back to that, because I know that when I was learning how to fill out a voucher, I referred back to a lot of what I was seeing and what I was seeing done correctly.
The role of VPF includes a variety of tasks, such as being the Chief Financial Officer of the off-campus college transport, the head of human resources, and helping oversee the SA businesses and services. How do you plan to handle and balance these financial responsibilities?
I have spent the last semester and a half, give or take, shadowing the VPF. So something that I would want to carry onto my own run as VPF is the delegation and teamwork that we have within the VPF office. We currently have a team of around 10 assistants. Actually, it's 10 including our current VPF. And something that's crucial to the operations of the VPF office is the delegation of our tasks, especially because the VPF does have a lot of routine and mundane tasks that kind of take away from the larger responsibilities put on her shoulders. So that's something that I would want to carry forward in my campaign, and I would want to continue working with our assistants, and especially our specialized assistants, to have those resources not only available to our students, but also have the load kind of taken off my own shoulders and get everything done efficiently and at its highest quality.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah. The role of VPF includes a variety of tasks, such as being the Chief Financial Officer of the off-campus college transport, the head of human resources, and helping oversee the SA businesses and services. How do you plan to handle and balance these financial responsibilities?
I plan on handling these financial responsibilities, again, similar to Lucy, through delegation. With the public relations department, I currently have 5 public relations liaisons who I assign different tasks when it comes to having to post on social media. But in addition, I'm really good at managing my time. I'm a part of Kickline, Moot Court, and SA Congress. Through being a part of all these activities, I've learned how to delegate my time to the respective activities in which are most important, and manage my time along with my schoolwork and being a student.
According to the public tax filings of the Student Association, We spent more than $150,000 than we took in during the 2025 fiscal year. The year before, we were almost $500,000 in debt. How will you, as the next VPF, plan to remain completely transparent, both to solve the problem and to communicate it to the public?
I plan on doing this through an explanation of kind of where your student activity fund goes, your student activity fee goes. Currently, it's budget season, so we're working on creating the budgets of respective clubs through FinCo, and we do have a layout that we have to follow. I plan on using the resources available to me in order to be as transparent as possible to clubs when they come in asking for funding. And yeah, thank you.
I think first it's important to make sure that our clubs are aware of what's happening with their money and what's happening with the budget, as well as making sure that we're not necessarily fear-mongering our orgs. While the numbers might sound scary, none of the funds are going to be actively coming out of their club funding. It's more so going to be through the SA's operational expenses. So I think it's important to make that abundantly clear, and that's where my proposed newsletter comes in. I want to make sure that our organizations know what is happening, what decisions are being made, and where the money is going, so they don't have to fear that their allocated budgets are going to be cut. I think that along with that, I want to work alongside the SA's marketing department to also help showcase those decisions that budgeting decisions that I'm going to be making to the student body, because they're just as much part of these decisions as we are.
Now I'm going to take 2 questions from the audience.
So what would you like to add to the current financial policy and procedures that isn't necessarily there right now that you think will kind of help the boards navigate their finances?
Should I go first? Yeah. Well, currently, I think that the FPP is a little difficult to read, especially as somebody who doesn't necessarily, do a lot of reading, business major, sorry. So I think that something that's crucial is the visualization and diagrams that should be implemented into the FPP. I think that if we had some kind of checklist at the end of it, or some kind of flow chart that shows that clubs can kind of go through and be like, okay, do I have a prior approval? Yes, no. Am I spending over $200? Yes, no. If you are, then you go down, kind of that same process of being able to double check that you have everything through just like everything being outlined out for you, because like I said, the FPP can be a little difficult to read.
Sorry, can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah. What is something that's currently not a part of the financial policy procedures that you think would be super necessary to kind of
I think that something that we should have in the FPP to outline is a clearer grading rubric when it comes to demonstrating what clubs are being asked when they're coming in for presentations for example, for FinCo, and then when they're signing in their vouchers. And then this is where my idea of creating a digital source of resources comes into play, so that individuals are able to refer back to it after taking their treasurer training, so that they can easily navigate the FPP.
All right, we're going to take one more question. You in the very back. Yep. No. Yeah.
I'm here representing Univeristy. As Vice President of Finance, you oversee the obligations of the next VP to a wide range of organizations. Arbitrary is unique in its direct impact on campus safety. With the rising costs of medical supplies and the critical need for constant annual maintenance, our operating costs are subject to market pressures that often outpace standard budget cycles. What are your plans to work with us to ensure our finances can continue to support us?
I plan on doing check-ins with both OCCT and Harper's Ferry, and just from there deciding whether to allocate more or less money to each of the organizations overall?
It is my current understanding that constitutionally, Harper's Ferry is only allocated a certain, number of percentage of the student allocation fee. And currently we are in the works of increasing that, giving you guys more than necessarily the minimum. And I want to continue that, especially because, like you said, costs are going up, everything's going up, and Harper's Ferry is crucial to the university. So I'm going to continue to provide you guys more than the allocated minimum funds. We can, work together and also create things like inventory and equipment update, like updating it annually to make sure that all these funds don't necessarily fall all at once.
Thank you so much. And now we're going to open it up for closing remarks. And Luciana, you can go first. Give 1 minute.
Well, I think as the current fundraising assistant and having been in the office a while, I think that I have a lot of skills and qualifications and a lot of experience within the Vice President for Finance's office that will make me a successful successor to our current VPF. But on top of that, I am a very welcoming person. At least I think I am. Nobody's told me I'm scary. But I'm also open to critiques. And I know that the way that the office run, I have a very internal view of it. But I want all of our organizations to know that I'm an open book and everyone can always come to me with suggestions, ideas, and ways that we can run things more efficiently because I know what it's like to be a broke college student. And I know that boards are crucial to Binghamton life. And I think that financial burden shouldn't fall on our students. Thank you.
Although I don't have as much experience as Lucy working in the VPF's office, I am really good at working on my feet. I'm good at learning things and from there adapting and creating new opportunities and new experiences to help overall the students as they come. I find that many students don't really know what's going on in the essay, which we all have found that. But I feel that if elected as Vice President for Finance, I can help address this issue and help all treasurers and club leaders do the best that they can so that they can have the best experience for their org as possible. Thank you.
Next up, we'll have the EVP candidates. So the Office of the Executive Vice President oversees all non-financial administrative matters relating to SA chartered organizations, businesses, the communications department, and is also the primary liaison for student organization use of Being Age platform. I would like to introduce the EVP candidates, Josie and Schlock. Josie, you can go first for introductory statement.
Hi, everyone. My name's Josie Janice, and I'm a sophomore from Auburn, New York. Show of hands, who thinks they could point out Auburn on a map? Some of you are lying. And for that reason, ever since I came to Binghamton, I found myself telling people more and more that I'm from Syracuse. As much as I love my dear friends from Long Island, I've come to understand that more of them know where Syracuse University is compared to Cayuga Community College. This accommodation that I've begun to make in my personal life reflects how I would like to operate as Executive Vice President, working to make all communication from my office as easy to understand as possible. The most tangible way that you can see this from my office is through a bi-weekly newsletter outlining important updates and deadlines. As Finance Committee Chair, I've met with hundreds of passionate student leaders, but I've also noticed that some things can get lost in translation between the Student Association's policies and club leaders, and I would maintain long office hours to allow leaders to drop by and ask any questions they may have. Clear and open lines of communication are especially important pertaining to the food policy as we transition to a new dining provider and are hopefully able to transition back to having banquets with actual, local, tasty, multicultural food compared to whatever Sodexo feels like whipping up that week. I'm majoring in global public health, and one of the first things that we are taught is that designing an effective intervention requires engaging community stakeholders. You have to engage your community in order to better understand their values and needs. As executive vice president, I send both myself and my staff into the field by attending weekly general body meetings of organizations in order to make my office more accessible and meet organizations where they are. My main goal as executive vice president is to make my office the most friendly, welcoming place on campus. I truly want every club leader on this campus to feel that they have a friend on the executive board. Additionally, I want to empower student leaders to feel that they are more equipped to handle conflicts within their organization by adding interpersonal conflict training to the Fall Leadership Conference, giving them skills that will serve them not just as student leaders, but throughout their lives. I want to thank everyone for coming out to this debate tonight. Go Orange, go Spartans, but most importantly, go Bearcats.
Hello everyone, my name is Shlok Daria. I'm a double major in computer science and mathematics, and currently I'm fundraising chair for Society of Asian Scientists and Engineers, cultural chair for Thai Student Board, and director of community relations for Students Association. The reason I list out these roles is because I'm someone who's a part of organizations, so I have a great understanding of what goes on, what are the issues. As well as director of community relations, I've met with 30 orgs over the past 2 semesters, and I've seen what the many different issues are amongst these orgs. As someone who understands these issues, I want to try and help advocate for these issues. For my platform, the first thing I want to talk about is communication. I want to be someone who's very open and easy to access, also someone who's easy to answer questions. But I know not everyone can always get an answer right on time, so I want to have easy access resources such as a website, optional modules, YouTube videos, shorts, and TikToks, because I know people are always scrolling through them. And for that, I'll also hold optional workshops once a week so people can ask me any questions, and I'll go over processes that people may be confused about. To further go into workshops, one thing is chartering. I know chartering is a big thing about EVP, and people want to start their own clubs. Not every club can get chartered, but I want to make sure that clubs with driven leaders and that will have a positive impact on the community will get chartered. Also, I want to make sure clubs are having great connections with people amongst the Binghamton community. So one thing I would like to talk about is helping clubs gain better Gen Mod. So one thing I will be doing is having forums that clubs can easily access, and that way they can collab with an org that they never collabed with before, and that will increase their attendance and meet new people who they never met before. As well as expanding Club Carnival to more rooms in the union and opening it so there's more clubs and people to be able to visit, so that the Binghamton students know more on who's on campus. And the last thing I know, one big issue is room booking and storage allocation. As someone who's in these orgs, I plan large-scale events as an event coordinator, such as Loikathon and SoCon for Thai Student Board. So I understand the issues between room bookings and the need for storage for the equipment for these events, and I want to be there to help advocate for them. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to start with Shlok for the first question. So with the increasing number of student organizations on campus, there's a growing competition for meeting spaces and resources. How do you plan to address concerns related to space allocation and ensure that all clubs have the resources they need to succeed? Currently, storage and office space is largely allocated based on seniority among student organizations. Do you intend to keep in this tradition or change it?
So I would like to actually change that. I believe that storage and space should be allocated based on need-based. There are a lot of large-scale orgs that may not have enough space because they have a lot of equipment, they have higher Gen Mod, they have a lot of attendance, they have a lot of equipment, a lot of events. I believe that those clubs should be getting more storage space, as well as clubs who require a lot of equipment, such as film and production studios. They have so much equipment to film their movies. They need a lot of space for that. And I would like to make sure that they do get the space. And the way to do this is, I know, based on my understanding, the BPF gets an equipment tracker at the end of every year. I'll be working very closely with them to see what type of equipment each org has, and that way I can easily help them get the storage space that they need.
So as chair of the finance committee, I think I've kind of come to realize this year that there's 2 things that everyone wants, but they are so finite: money and space. I think that unfortunately, I don't have $1 million to build a bunch of storage lockers for every single organization on this campus. However, I would implement a rubric in order to ensure that storage allocation is split up in the most fair and equitable way possible. Thank you.
All right, so next question. What is the biggest structural problem facing student association organizations right now, and how do you plan to address it?
So obviously we heard about this during the VPF debate. We are currently operating in a deficit. However, I just want to take one moment to encourage everyone to vote yes during the referendum, which will also be on our ballot. There's going to be two questions on the ballot. One, to keep the student activities fee mandatory, and to increase the student activities fee by $10. I would encourage everyone to vote yes twice so that next year we can all have a little bit more money in our pocket. Thank you.
So I think one of the biggest structural issues amongst orgs within the EVP's jurisdiction is getting attendance. I've visited a lot of orgs, and one thing that they complain about is getting the attendance to their events. One thing as I discussed earlier with the collab to connect, like currently have a collab to connect, and I'll be like building off that with the forum so clubs can easily work together. I think this helps with communicating with new people around campus and getting more people to show up to your events, as well as making sure that it's just not like other board members trying to visit your events, but people around the community, and using Club Carnival as well as that would help do that. And expanding Club Carnival also would like to have other resources within on campus to show up to Club Carnival so people know about these resources as well as local businesses. So that helps people know what's going on around the Binghamton area and increase their involvement within it.
Okay, so the last question is, the current wait time for a full charter from the SA is 7 to 8 semesters. Despite this, new clubs pop up all the time and seek support from the SA. Do you think the SA does enough to support these new and smaller student organizations? If so, what do you hope to continue? And if not, what will you change?
So I think clubs that are being chartered require more resources than we do. One thing we base off chartering is how much people they're getting to their events. And I think it's very hard for them when people don't know about them. So I want to make sure that I want people to be aware about chartering clubs on campus by publishing, posting about them, talking about them, keeping on our website so people can see a whole list of them at any time and be able to visit their events, as well as helping promote their events so people can go to them. And I want to help keep provisionally chartered resources, provisional resources such as provisional room bookings so that they can get rooms within popular areas, but keep it limited so that it's not always, so that there's resources for chartered clubs with them on campus.
Yes, so there's actually a current bill on the floor of our Student Association Congress to discuss what to do because we have more clubs that are popping up and we really do not have, most importantly, the budget or the space for them. So the resolution that is being proposed is to move provisionally chartered and pre-provisionally chartered organizations to becoming recognized organizations, so they will be able to book space, they just won't be able to request a budget. But again, if you vote yes to the referendum, eventually these clubs may be able to become fully chartered and apply for a budget.
All right, so now, whoever has questions, 2 people. No one. Okay, blue shirt.
Thank you so much. My favorite gender-neutral bathroom on this campus is the Institute for Genocide and Mass Atrocity Prevention bathroom on the ground floor of the library. If you guys are unfamiliar, there's actually a shower in there, and I discovered it as a first semester freshman and a participant in FRI, and I will honestly say that bathroom has probably seen me at some of the lowest moments of my entire time in Binghamton.
For me, my favorite gender-neutral bathroom is the one by the Q Center. That's where I used to go when I visited my friends at the Q Center who are working there. I think it's really close to it. I would also go there sometimes right after FRI to go visit my friends and just go to the bathroom and go back to class.
All right, Yoa.
Considering that this position deals with lots of policies, logistics, and other very fine details, and also considering the fact that you have both held positions within the SA over the last academic year, how do you believe the experience you have gained in those positions will help you be a better EVP and be familiar with those policies that you're supposed to uphold in your position as EVP?
So for me, as I've stated earlier, I'm within multiple orgs on campus as well as Director of Community Relations. So I've met with orgs. I have personal experience with many of the issues that the orgs face, as well as meeting with the orgs and seeing a wide variety of different issues that people face. I will also be working very close with the VPMA office and the President's Cabinet office with Director of Community Relations and the people in the VPMA's cabinet who visit orgs to discuss the issues, and that way I can advocate for them the best way I can.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
My question was, considering the fact that your role as VP involves upholding policies and many fine details and logistic work, what is your role, considering that you've also had a position in the SA, the last academic role, how does that role fit into the EVP and be familiar with those policies that you will uphold next year?
I will say that as chair of the finance committee, I've probably spent more time looking at the FPP than most of the students on this campus. It's pretty much my best friend at this point. I will also say that through being a Congress representative myself as a freshman and now as a chair, I'm very familiar with our Constitution and our management policies and how those have been edited even in my 2 years here at Binghamton. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, also before we wrap up, we have a question on Zoom. So, how do you plan to limit the amount of clubs that get through the first phase of chartering through the EVP's office?
Oh, wait, is it me first?
Either.
Yeah. Oh. So I actually also served on internal affairs as a freshman, but I think that I unfortunately may have to just tighten the criteria of what can be moved into internal affairs in order to lessen the workload on IA so that clubs that meet that initial criteria and then get to meet with IA are more in line with what an organization that eventually will get chartered might look like.
So for me, I would like to say that the clubs I want to focus helping through the charting phase are obviously orgs that have a positive impact within the Binghamton community, because I think it is important that these clubs help the students as well as the community around them, and also want driven leaders who will help guide their orgs further on.
Thank you so much. Now you can start with your closing remarks. You have 1 minute.
So, based on my experience throughout the SA and my sophomore year, throughout the many orgs and issues I've heard about, I wanted to be someone who's representative and to help these orgs much better. I know how much issues go on trying to get meetings set up and trying to get these room books, and I want to be there for the people as best as I can. Thank you.
I just want to one more time thank everyone for coming out, thank Adam and the Election and Judiciary Committee for running this debate, and I really hope I can count on your support on March 26th. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So that'll conclude the debate for the EVP tonight. Thank you again. And now, for the moment we've all been waiting for, some people are waiting for, it's the debate for the SA president. The president of the Student Association shall coordinate, oversee, and chair the executive board. They're the primary representative and spokesperson of the Student Association. As mentioned prior, applause and audience interruptions are highly discouraged, except right now, as I would like to introduce the presidential candidates, Blake, Brady, and Mira. Okay, so because there are 3 people, we're going to do the same thing where everyone takes turns going first. And so, Blake, you are going to start with your introductory statement.
All right, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here tonight, and I would like to thank the moderators and elections committee for the opportunity to speak directly to Binghamton students. My name is Blake Goldstein. I'm running for president because I've spent the last 2 years as an SA rep and speaker listening to your concerns, and I know what keeps you up at night. Mental health struggles that the university doesn't adequately address, the threat of ICE in our communities, and if you could eat at the dining hall without getting sick. Having served as a Speaker of Congress this past year, I gained experience meeting with administrators, such as President Andaleva, Chris Downey, and Paola Mignoni. This taught me how to balance building strong relationships while ferociously advocating for your needs, and it gave me the experience to accomplish my goals for the future. As president, I will advocate for more resources to be put towards UCC. As someone who credits therapy for saving my own life, I know how important it is for you to have therapists that reflect your experiences and not be shown the door because of detrimental caps on counseling. I'll create a system for you to report when Chartwell's is out of compliance with the safety standards we demand, and create a cabinet position tasked with ensuring promises to meal swipe commitments and more kosher and halal options do not go unanswered. At a time when our multicultural community is living in fear of masked ICE thugs coming to campus through unlawful administrative warrants, I will always advocate for sanctuary initiatives, like urging professors to respect if you cannot come to class because they are in your community, and for the university to end its collaboration with Flock Security. If they come to campus, we will be ready. I will communicate their presence through essay lines and social media posts informing you of your rights and where specifically they are. The Student Association is only as effective as it is transparent. I will publish weekly accountability reports so you could stay updated on promises made tonight and track how the money from your student activity fee is really being used. The days of your leaders going invisible after elections are over must end. I will be at your club events, meet with your e-boards, and immediately inform you when SA policies change. I will build an administration that is diverse, unifying, and easy to hold accountable. Because as students, you deserve nothing less.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brady Lindsay, and I am a sophomore physics major on the pre-med track. And obviously, I'm here in front of you all today because I'm running to be your student association president. The first thing I'll tell you is that I'm a local student. And that is a large reason why I'm standing in front of you today. In fact, I'm so local that my parents asked to be here at this debate tonight. And when I told them it was 8 p.m., they told me it was past their bedtime. So they would have been here. Maybe they're here in spirit. I don't know. For me, Binghamton isn't just where I go to school. This is my home. And because of that, I care deeply that every single one of you can also feel that this is somewhat of a home during your time here. I think we can agree that college should not just be about classes and assignments, but it should be about having a place where you can feel connected and supported. That idea, building a true home away from home, is why I'm here in front of you. This year, I've had the privilege of serving as the chair of the Internal Affairs Committee for the SA Congress. And through that role, I've had the opportunity of meeting with many student organizations, especially the new and growing organizations that are just finding their footing. When you sit down with students, part of new organizations or those that have already been established for a while, you can see the passion in their eyes. And to be honest, it's contagious. It also uplifts you. That's why my main focus as president would be to nurture that passion. Allow student organizations to grow to their fullest extent. As such, my campaign is built around 3 main priorities. The first is strengthening our connection to the overall community, creating more opportunities for students to engage beyond campus. Most importantly, this would include connecting clubs to more off-campus resources. Secondly, improving the systems that students rely on every single day, including both transportation and student employment, making sure that they are reliable and actually work for the people who use them. And third, open and accessible leadership. The main complaints I fielded from students about the essay is that they don't know what we're doing, why we're making the decisions we are, and how they can be involved. That necessitates consistent communication and leadership that is present and accountable. At the end of the day, my cause for presidency isn't about me. It's about the kind of campus that we want to create together. A campus where students feel heard, a campus where systems work the way they should, and most importantly, a campus that feels like home. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mira Minigu, and I just want to do everything that I can to improve campus life for my fellow students. Advocacy has always been central to who I am. I assisted with the installation of the Plan B vending machine at the bottom of Bartle, if anyone knows about that. It's $10 for Plan B, as opposed to the $50 off campus. I worked as a fellow with the New York Birth Control Access Project, consistently like lobbying at the Capitol to improve reproductive health access. On campus, I serve as an SSA in Mountain View and vice president of Undivided, which is a multicultural singing organization. And I also intentionally stay engaged across campus, interning for other organizations, attending events, and even performing at banquets. If you've seen me sing, I don't know. My goal is to serve as a bridge between the student body and administration by actively seeking out the issues that plague the student body. So my platform runs on accessibility, being visible in all across campus, the marketplace, the library where students mainly hang around. Also, if someone doesn't see me, I want to implement bi-weekly tabling in the union for students to come and talk to me about issues that are plaguing them, and for me to also talk about what we're doing in office and offer transparency and connect with the student body so they don't have to go to the office or go through forms and emails, so we can just connect face to face. I also want to acknowledge the challenges faced by off-campus students by OCCT, especially late night and the issues with the schedule, and that is something that I definitely want to rectify as and I also want to increase the OCCT's, fix the OCCT's feedback system, advertise it in more places so we know exactly when an issue is happening, so we don't wait for rumors or for people to talk about it, but we know exactly when and where the issues are happening so we can fix them. And my next pillar is administrative collaboration. I recognize the apparent gap in communication between the student body and the administration, and I want to act in my official capacity as a bridge between the student body and administration, and also to ensure follow-throughs with proposals and initiatives brought on by the student body, balancing student requests with realistic things that the administration can really do. And for my final pillar, I want to spotlight health and wellness across campus. I want to increase diversity in the UCC so students can see themselves in the people who are addressing the problems and issues in their life. And also for reproductive health, I want to partner with the New York Birth Control Access Project to ensure that the Plan B vending machine stays stocked in the Bartle Library basement. And to close off, I just want to say that I can't pretend to know everything that happens in the student body. Sorry. But I'm committed to leading with openness and listening first. And real change starts with your voice, not just mine. Thank you.
You get 2 rebuttals each. If you want to rebut, please raise your hand and read your answer. You have one minute in order for your rebuttal. At this time, applauses, exclamations, or other interruptions from the audience are not permitted, and repeated violations will result in removal.
Just so the order for this will be Grady, Mira, and Blake. As president of the Student Association, you have a lot of influence and power to improve student life on our campus. What do you believe will be your singular, most impactful plan as president? And why will you be the best person to carry it forward?
Yeah, so as I discussed briefly before, my main priority is making sure that student clubs and organizations have the ability and the capacity to continue forward and put on great events that attract lots of people, where ultimately, that's where our friends are made, right? That, I believe, can be accomplished by furthering our connection to our community. There's a lot of outside groups who would be willing to help current student organizations in terms of resource allocation, perhaps even providing food for these events, right? So I'm not gonna use the I'm a local card here, but, and it's true that I have had many meaningful conversations with some of the people in the area, as well as administrators on perhaps bringing these outside groups into campus so that our current student organizations can benefit.
Can you please repeat the question?
As president of the Student Association, as president of the Student Association, as president of the Student Association, you would have a lot of influence and power to improve student life on campus. What do you believe will be your singular most impactful plan as president, and why will you be the best person to carry it forward?
My single most impactful plan is being visible and approachable to the student body, because there is a gap between students and SA. On a student and as a student myself, SA seems very intimidating, and many students don't know what goes on in SA. So I want to implement that bi-weekly tabling that I've been discussing and talking about, because I want students to be able to come to me, tell me about their issues. I could tell them about issues that other students are having, see if they relate to it. I also want to use this time to offer transparency and to present possibly new flyers or a new presentation and let students know about what we've done in the SA office every other week or, well, oops, so sorry. I want to let them know what we've done on a bi-weekly basis. Give a summary about what we've accomplished in the office, because we could send emails, but sorry.
The very first thing on my platform, mental health. Mental health comes first. The most important thing is mental health, because good grades, good internships, all that's really important. But if you're not in a place where you feel good about your life and yourself, then how effective can you really be? And I have a lot of plans for mental health. I have a lot of bread and butter, things that we're going to be able to get done week one, like centralize all our resources on the SA website, giving you a one-stop shop, and continuing the projects we started this year to bring those resources to your orgs, and having an open conversation about how no one needs to feel ashamed about struggling with mental health. I have my stories. I'm sure you do too. We all do. I also, in my dealings with the administration, am very frequently going to emphasize how a lack of diverse therapists and extreme counseling session caps have really hurt our student body. I'm the best person to carry this out because I've dealt with these issues myself, and I've seen family members struggle and at times lose their life from the same thing. These are not issues.
Finish your sentence.
These are issues that have shaped my entire life, and I know what needs to be done.
All right. For this next question, the order will be Mira, Blake, and Brady. OCCT is one of the largest student-run bus systems in the country and is run by the Student Association. How do you plan to use your position as president of the Student Association to improve upon the busing system and make service more satisfactory for the student body?
Can you please repeat the question one more time?
OCCT is one of the largest student-run bus systems in the country and is run by the Student Association. How do you plan to use your position as president of the Student Association to improve upon the busing system and make service more satisfactory for the student body?
So we all know how important the OCCT is to all students, especially for students who live on campus. It is some people's only way from getting to and from and participating in campus lives, internships, meetings, whatever it may be. And it's very important that OCCT runs smoothly and on the time that it says it should. I have a friend, after our club rehearsal, we will walk down to the waiting room at the front of the union, and we will sit there for over an hour late night waiting for the bus to come, and that is just simply not acceptable. If a student's only other option at that time is to take an Uber, and $16 to $20 Ubers 2 times a week, bi-weekly, like it just wouldn't, it's not affordable for the average college student. That's why we need to ensure that these buses are running on time. What I can do, I can admit that I don't know exactly how OCCT runs all the way in the administrative side, but I do want to work with staff to understand, to see if it is a staffing issue. Do we need to target the freshmen? Do we need to see? Yeah, okay. Thank you. I don't want to go too long.
OCCT is one of the most important things that we have on campus to get around. I also have found in my own experiences that it's very difficult to navigate because as a freshman, as a sophomore, even occasionally today, I don't know how to navigate that website because all the directions are in one place and it's hard to get the specific information. And I want to make it so you have a way to get all the information you need, but only the information that you need. I want to add a searchable website tool that will allow you to customize routes, locations, pickup times, and updates, so you can just get exactly what you're looking for without having to ask, oh wait, is this bus the one I'm looking for, or is this one maybe more into what I'm trying to get around with? I think that OCCT directions need to be in a place where if one person can understand exactly where they're going, they can just keep track of one place at one time and not have to deal with all the extra fluff on top of just the very necessary information that they need.
Once again, I'm going to bring up the point that I've come back and forth to Binghamton hundreds of times in my time since I've lived here, right? So I understand how important it is to have some kind of transportation to and from campus for students. I'd also like to point out that this is not something that I can attack alone. It's going to take a joint effort between the president's office, the VPF's office, and the bus drivers themselves. Ultimately, they are students too, so their happiness will result in proper busing service for the rest of the community. We have to build upon what we have. We have things in place that could be modernized for sure. But in all the conversations I've heard, we need to also focus on making sure that the bus schedule does not overlap so closely with the class schedule. I hear about buses leaving 5 minutes before class. That's not accessible to most students. So those are some things that we should keep in mind as we proceed forward.
The order for this next question. Order for this next question. The order? The order for this next question will be Brady and Merrick.
Thank you, sir.
You all have several wide-ranging ideas for our campus on the need to maintain strong and healthy relationships with university administrators, faculty members, and the general Binghamton University student body. How do you plan to navigate these relationships to increase transparency and ensure student voices are heard and responded to by university admin?
That's a great question. Thank you, Jaden. I'd say that every relationship I've ever built in this org, on campus, at home, they've all have been built on mutual trust and respect. There's a lot of things I'm fighting for in my platform. That's no secret to anyone. But you have to be able to look your partners in the eye so they understand that you're not just trying to throw a bunch of things at them for the sake of giving them grief. There are actual problems that exist on campus, and when you're bringing them to them, it's because you're able to explain how those problems affect the lives of students. Now, it's very important that you're always honest and you're always upfront, but you're also always very direct. And you also understand that maybe if admin isn't willing to go with plan A, that you're able to pivot and figure out a new way to get the same goal done, but maybe, in a plan B way where you're able to really address some initial concerns that may come up. It's about being flexible. It's about being honest. It's about being sincere. I personally am of the belief that I'm someone, I can work with anyone. All it takes is honesty and sincerity.
One of the first things they teach you in elementary education, and this applies to everyone, not just STEM or if you're an art student, right, is that you have to back up your data with some sort of support, right? If we go to administration and we bring these numbers, clear data that students want some change, it is my sincere hope that you can trust that I will be pushing for that. I know it's hard because I'm up here in a suit. I might look a little menacing to some people, but I am your liaison, or I aspire to be your liaison. It's important to approach these conversations with warmth, yet persistence. Because if we're not persistent in how we're attacking these discussions, as in taking multiple routes if one doesn't work, having a backup plan in mind, nothing can truthfully get accomplished. Our administrators are people too, but we do have to fight for what we believe in. And we have to change how we approach it in a meaningful way.
Working with NYDCAD, I'm familiar with the behavior and the language you have to use with administrators when I was working with legislators at the Capitol. But as for on a student level, I think that what the students need for transparency is what we're doing in the office, just put into simple words, something that you can just graze and look at on your way to class, because students are plagued with midterms, tests, clubs. They can't focus on and read every resolution, everything that we put out. So for us to put, I want to implement a newsletter, a president's newsletter, straight to the student body, where I just put in simple terms what we're doing in SA, what we want to do, and the issues that are happening. Just something that you can glance at, and that is true transparency.
Okay. Now we're gonna open up to questions from the audience. There was one question asked on Zoom, so that is the question that we're going with first. This is Zoom. Okay. So the question was, what is one change that you think the current Student Association administration / presidency implemented that greatly benefited campus to campus? And what is one change you hope will reach the same level of improvement or even surpass it? Oh yeah, sorry. The order is going to be Mira, Blake, and then Bree.
Can you please read it one more time?
Yeah. What is one change that you think is me? Like, what? All right, can everybody hear me or talk like this? Okay.
I can hear you.
Yeah. What is one change that you think the current Student Association administration / presidency implemented that greatly benefited campus? And what is the one change that you hope will reach that same level of improvement or even surpass it?
In full transparency, as an average student, I don't know much about what is going on in the internal rooms of SA, and that just ties into the fact that we need that transparency between SA and the student body, because the average person couldn't tell you too much about what's going on, because it feels like there's a huge gap and divide between the SA and the student body. And I just want to push forth that transparency so the average student can name stuff that's going on. I can ask any student around, what have we done, and for them to be open.
Well, stating the obvious first, Mackenzie has been a phenomenal president. She has a terrific legacy at the school, and I hope when the time comes, I could ask her about ways I could, honor that legacy appropriately. I think that one of her best accomplishments was the holiday off form, giving multicultural communities a chance to not have so many unexcused absences pile up because the university doesn't recognize their holiday. Now, one change that there's a lot of changes I want to bring, but one of the really big changes I do want to bring, because exactly as Mira is saying, the average student does not know what the SA does. I want to publish weekly accountability reports that not only talk about the initiatives the SA is taking on, updating you on the promises made here tonight, but also talks about how your student activity fee is being allocated. I've spoken to hundreds of clubs in my time, and they all essentially say the same thing. I was a FinCo rep last year as well. We don't get enough money to really thrive. We don't understand why we're not getting the money we're asking for. And it's really not that hard to be transparent. You just have to be willing. And I want to put all those answers, again, in those accountability reports so clubs can know exactly why they're getting the funding they are and feel trust in the decisions we're making.
Well, first of all, that's a very good question. Had the wheels in my head turn quite a bit. I forget the exact name of it, but it was a sort of a organizational mixer where different organizations could come together and explore potential partnerships or collabing for events. That's something that really struck me in the heart, per se, because as I hope I've emphasized to you enough, I'm all about community, right? And in this case, combining communities. That way, stay with me now, we create an even bigger community. I hope to expand upon that idea by, as I've said, utilizing off-campus resources. I would like to start a Bearcats Beyond Campus project that essentially promotes these service days and organizational efforts downtown so that all of our organizations here can intermingle in a space that isn't necessarily campus, where there might be certain dogmas that already exist, like that being outside of campus would be more free reign.
Stop.
Okay. We're gonna be also taking 2 more audience questions. And I'm not gonna use the microphone because it's being weird. Okay, so yeah, 2 more audience questions. You go right down there. Like, yeah. Wait, no, sorry, we're supposed to the right, I didn't do the name. Okay. So,
okay. 2 years ago in the Student Association, 2 of these candidates, Brady and Pike, voted for a resolution advocating for a mask ban on this campus during protests, which would limit student privacy and put students seriously at risk, especially during this current political climate. That was vetoed by the E-Board at the time. Do you regret this vote, and would you vote veto a similar resolution if it came up during your term?
Oh yeah, don't worry, this one's Brady, you're on the delay.
Yeah, I'm really happy you brought that up, actually. So just to clarify and just be fully transparent about that, a lot of those resolutions that came up during that specific meeting or that specific time on campus, I feel like were rushed very fast. And that is not an excuse, but that is something that I do deeply regret. And I do apologize to those who perhaps see that and misunderstand my stance on that specific issue. If something like that were to come up again, certainly it would become something that I would frown upon, right? Because that's an abridgment of our First Amendment, something that we all hope to protect here and rely upon for our safety and security. Right? So, in short, yes, that is something that I am very sorry about. And although I understand it's not good enough to say I was rushed, that is sincerely how I feel about it, and I do apologize.
Okay, this question seems super targeted. So what I can say is that if voted, I will make sure to fully read through and understand policy and make sure to take my time. And I would ensure to put students' voices first above my personal opinions, and to ensure privacy and just overall student safety first. Yeah.
Rob, thank you so much for bringing this up, because this is something I have wanted to talk to the student body about for a long time. I'm obviously running a campaign on accountability and transparency, and I'm willing to be held accountable for that vote. I can make a bunch of excuses. I didn't understand what was in the bill, one of my first meetings, whatever. It doesn't matter. The fact is I made a decision that hurt the multicultural community, and for that I am deeply, deeply sorry. I also owe you an explanation as to why my views on this subject have changed over the years. Now, once I joined the student association, I was meeting people and learning about experiences I was never exposed to as a freshman or in my home life. And building relationships with people who see the world a little bit differently has had an impact on my own views. And ultimately, that's the role of leadership, to listen to others and sometimes even change your opinion based on what they say. I have absolutely no excuse for that vote that I cast a year ago. If a similar thing came up, I would 100% vote to veto it, and I have no excuse for it. I'm sorry.
Blake first.
Okay. All right, we're gonna take one more audience question. This is gonna be Blake, Grady, Vera, and they're all the way in the back over there. You got your hand up since before I start talking.
One thing I was wondering is, can you name one thing that you appreciate or think is good about your candidates platform?
Yeah, that's a great question. First, starting out with Brady, I really like his initiative, the Bearcats Beyond, what's it called? The Bearcats Beyond Campus. I think that's a go-getter. In terms of Mira, I really like what she's talking about with the Plan B vending machines. Regardless of how this election turns out, I would love to talk about ways to implement that, and I think that's a terrific idea.
Yeah, I also really like this question because too often it feels like it's all contentious, right? But at the end of the day, I'm very, I'm going to use the word proud, actually, of what my fellow candidates have put forward. Starting with Mira, I very much like your interpretation of promoting transparency as someone who's not necessarily directly in the student association. That's something, obviously, that I can't directly cover as it currently stands. And as for Blake, I mean, I very much like your targeting and improving the UCC resources that we have. That's something that I think we can all agree should be improved upon, and I think the approach to it is something that, to be honest, I wish I had thought of. So, yeah.
I do want to acknowledge that I've seen both of your campaign Instagrams. I love how friendly yours is on how you talk about what you do and everything, and how you leverage the fact that you're from the area, and that is a unique experience that you have. As for Blake, I really like the videos that you've been putting up, the TikTok videos with you walking around. I just saw the one today with you walking around. You walked up the elevator, that was really cool. And I do appreciate your stance on UCC, the UCC, and the fact that you have your own personal story and really push on that.
All right, well, we're taking another question. President Mackenzie, President.
All right. Great job, all three of you. How would you navigate the situation where your cultural or religious community wants you to take a public stance on a contentious issue, but you personally believe that it's in the best interest of the student association to take a different stance?
You can start.
Well, as president, you have to make decisions that are not for your own well-being, but for the whole student well-being. And in that situation, I would ensure to meet with the group and talk to them about my views on the opinion, hear them out and hear their views on the opinion. And if ultimately we have to go the way that I have decided first, then I would have to warn them, let them know ahead of time, just to let them prepare themselves about what I would have to put out.
Up next is, sorry, it's changing here. Okay, yeah, for Grady.
Well, I hate to sound like a broken record here, but I very much agree with what you said. I mean, part of the responsibility of the job is to set your personal feelings and ideas aside so that you can best service all of the students equally that are part of this campus. Because even if I was biased towards my specific feelings, that already alienates a certain part of the population that would in my opinion, would linger for quite a bit of time. And I think it's important just to go forward and treat everyone with that equal mindset and say, listen, I will gladly encourage any kind of discourse that would pop up. I think that's a healthy and safe thing to do. But ultimately, my stance is firm that I am a hard control.
So as I've been Speaker of Congress the last year, I've gotten really good at understanding that no one cares about my own opinion, and I would never make a decision based off my own opinion. I'll tell you a story. Over the summer, I interned for Mikey Sherrill, who's running for governor of New Jersey. And one day she said to me, when I was preparing to be Speaker and I asked, she said, "You can only lead the people if you know how to listen to the people." And sort of what I was saying before, I'm talking about campus unity. I would talk to different clubs. I would hear different perspectives than the one I'm familiar with. And ultimately, I would make a decision that I know would make the most amount of people feel at least respected and heard. You can't make everyone happy. But at the end of the day, people need to understand that you're making decisions out of love. You're making decisions because you're trying to do the right thing. And ultimately, I would never let my own, biases, my own perspective get in the way, because frankly, I serve you. If I was the president, I would have a very similar approach in that way as Speaker, and understanding that your opinions come way before mine, and I don't matter as much.
Thank you guys so much. And so lastly, we have our closing remarks, and the order will be Brady, Blake, and then Mira. 1 minute each.
Well, I'd just like to start by saying thank you to everyone for coming once again, and especially all of our candidates for all the positions. If you're like me, which I know, or I think most of them are, you always have a little bit of butterflies in your stomach when you're doing this. So I really just want to say great job to everyone. I'm very happy for us all, and I feel very confident in all of us. The other thing I'll say about myself is that, as you can see, I'm a big community guy. That word, you'll be tired of that word, but that's really what I'm about. Any way that I can enhance the student experience on Binghamton by creating a more welcoming community, more fostering community, a larger community, that's what I'm aiming for. Now, after this, I am going to go start studying for a midterm tomorrow, and I feel like we've all kind of been there. So thank you so much, everyone, and please have a good night.
I know many students who feel disconnected from the SA, or worse, feel as though they've never been truly represented. That must change. As president, I will ensure you have the mental health resources you need. I will work with Chartwells to ensure safe dining. I will be a leader who unifies our campus, and that starts tonight, which is why I call on all my fellow candidates across every race to commit to accepting the results of the election. Whatever happens, I will not file a self-serving J-board. And if ICE wants to get to one of us, they're gonna have to get through all of us. I will defend sanctuary values, communicate their presence on campus, and be a leader with enough courage to say, ICE has no place on this campus. We cannot be divided. Our future begins together, because we, my friends, are going to win the Binghamton we deserve. And for that, I say, thank you.
That's my final word. I just want to say, looking at all the candidates, you guys did all so well tonight. But if we really think about how many students we have on campus, this is an overwhelmingly low number of people running for office, which really is a testament to the gap between SA and the student body, and that is the gap that I want to close by putting myself out there and really getting SA into people's mind, and hopefully, just beyond what I'm doing, inspire more people to run for SA and get involved in student politics and understand what it is that is done. Yes. Thank you.
I'd like to congratulate all the good candidates for having such a great debate, and I'd like to thank everyone here for coming to the debate. If you haven't signed in, please sign in, and have a good night.
All right, any final words from Zoom? Thank you, Zoom. Have a great one. Appreciate y'all.
Election Day is March 26th, next Thursday. Thank you for being here, and please continue to be part of the democratic process by voting.
QR codes are here.
Thank you for the charger. I appreciate you. Good stuff.
You ate that Zoom.
Are you going to Savannah on Friday? Yeah, Olivia was talking to me.
Wait, you should.
I might.
It's an activity table.
I might go. Yeah.
Wait, you should. It can be crazy
Is the
stuff.
food good? Yeah.
Usually, yeah. Also, like, I know they're putting work.
They got veggies. Oh, they got potato latkes or no? That would be fire.
I think they have cooked.
Okay.
It's the same in a different form.
This is potato latkes.
Wait, you so should. I'm serving. You should come to my buffet.
That's fire. Oh, you are. I know. Are you going to Shabbat?
2,400.
Oh no, my sister.
What?
My sister.
I like your cut.
This weekend.
Wait,
I
that's what it
appreciate
says.
it so much. My guys were calling me Hitler in the chat. I went to this barber. I'm like, yo, like, all right, so I want it short, but not too short. And then he fucking chops off this huge.
That was crazy. Who let that one happen? How does your mom feel about that?
Right over here.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
Does that mean Ian did just have some for the rest of the
Where's the mic?
Right here.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, I got to go to sleep.
Say hi to the camera. Say hi to the camera.
Hi, camera.
That's about it. You want to say anything else?
Vote Irene for BU Council Representative next Thursday. No more J-board cases. We all love each other. This world is gonna be great. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Thank you, Midas, for filming and recording the whole session.
Midas is the GOAT.
GOAT.
Nobody does it better than Midas. Shout out Midas.
Yeah, I'm doing it for free too.
Really?
No, I'm not.
Yeah,
They just haven't paid me yet.
He was definitely in his hand. I'm like, there's no way he's doing this for you.
Hey, they just haven't discussed it yet. Where my money at?
Dr. Blake.
Oh, okay. All right. Good night, folks.